I have been bit by the Barbie bug, I fear. Are we liking the pink? Hopefully this microphone situation stays with us throughout the entire video. Today we're doing another cocktail video on celebrities and astrology. I'm sure you've been seeing everybody and their mother getting a divorce. I can attribute this to two transits, one being Venus retrograde in Leo and the other being the South Node moving into Libra. Before we go any further, in order to join the KMONEY cult, you need to follow my Twitter because that's where I post all of my predictions. You need a general consensus or like a greater understanding of what the nodes in Aries and Libra looks like collectively. You can watch this longer form video here on YouTube. General rule of thumb with Venus retrograde is that it tends to make relationships, beauty, and finances a little erratic. It's like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Because there's a square to Uranus this time in particular, there's a lot of unstable decision making, a lot of impulses. The South Node in Libra has a lot to do with confronting relationship karma and codependency and cycles that have to do with partnership. This is going to be hitting Leo and Libra placements a little bit harder because you are like the one getting personally afflicted by this. But the fun of today's video is that I'm going to show you what celebrities I think will, have the stars coming at their neck with this transit. I'm going to start light with Bella Hadid because we just found out that she's actually been in rehab, she's sober, and she just broke up with her boyfriend. Triple homicide, but this is good news for her. I think generally hearing that a celebrity is in rehab is like, oh my god, that's bad, but they're getting help. It's a good thing. She has the Venus retrograde going through her 12th house, which is literally like her psychology, her mental health. It's isolating yourself. I would certainly attribute this house to like medication, getting help, therapy. Typically Venus ruling relationships in general, and that going through your 12th house too can sometimes be like secrets and things that are happening behind closed doors with relationships as well. She's a good example of how she has a lot of Libra placements, and despite the fact that the South Node hasn't swept up any karmic stuff for her directly yet, we should keep an eye on her around like January 20th of 2024 because that's when it's going to hit her Chiron, which is traumas and triggers directly on the head. She also has Saturn going through her 7th house literally until 2026, which can bring struggle and strife and just slowness and karmic lessons to relationships as well. TikTok loves cutting off every damn picture. This is Doja Cat, okay? I started predicting for Doja Cat a few months ago and I was saying she's gonna switch up her look. There's something here that's gonna change. We are putting the old Doja Cat out the window. And about 6 weeks later, we got this. All of the drama around her saying that her old identity was essentially a cash grab. Got this. Now today, finally, we have the South Node on her ascendant, which is her physical looks, usually like who she is as a person at the core, but what she looks like. And this woman, one by one, is going to get hit by the South Node through her 1st house, which to me personally, like when I'm explaining this to somebody, it's not an easy transit. It's usually like what is essentially maybe starting as an identity crisis, but really rips up everything that is toxic about you, all of these karmic things you need to work through with yourself, needing to let go of yourself, shed old skin. This is opposite her 7th house as well, which has a lot to do with relationships. I know that she's dating somebody that's really controversial because apparently he has some, I think like sexual assault allegations around him. I don't know his name, I'm sorry. Let's not even put the attention on him in this video. The axis of the nodes being there can bring like fated changes to self versus relationships. It's going to hit her sun, her own North Node, her Mercury, and her Chiron. So for the next 18 months, we're going to see a lot of Doja Cat possibly just continuing to transform. And with Venus retrograde happening in her 11th house, I do not think that like the attention around her right now is something that's gonna go away this summer. I think there's a lot of people not being able to decide if they like her or not, or if they like her music or not, or if they support her or not. We will probably be like having eyes on her until the end of this transit, which is January 2025. However, I would say up until like fall is where that Venus retrograde is going to be in her 11th house, which is support from the public, the response of people like liking her music or not, just her generally in the public eye. 21 Savage. So I haven't seen anything on him in particular. In fact, I should do a Google search really quick and see if there's any news about him. Upon Googling him, I actually did find out that I guess there, I think, is a lawsuit against him and possibly Drake because on Drake's tour, they used a visual of Anna Wintour and whatever that looks like this. And I guess it's a big deal. I don't know. For him, he's a 29-degree Libra sun and a 28-degree Libra ascendant. So this is like, again, right on the degree of those things right now. So he's getting hit directly by it. Some sort of karma, need to deal with something, bad PR, essentially. Needing to face yourself, I think, is a big part of the South Node hitting your placements. So if we don't attribute it to this Anna Wintour thing, like there might be something else where we see him in the public eye. in maybe a not so good way, and also having that Venus retrograde go through his 11th house, again, same idea where there might be like the swaying of public support or not, but also issues with his finances could be part of it. Mars is going to be going over his moon as well, which can bring emotional frustrations, changes to the home, family, women, motherhood, pregnancy. It might also have to do with the fact that he was born in England. I always forget that, but the moon in the 12th house can sometimes be a home in foreign land, so something like that might be part of it. Kamala Harris, again, super personal to her as well. She has a 27-degree Libra sun. The South Node actually just went over her Mercury too, which is like press, speaking, talking, writing, information, speeches, announcements. She also has a direct opposition to her 27-degree Aries moon. So this is intense, and it makes me think a few political things also, because there's going to be a square between Pluto and the sun literally tomorrow, and I've been tweeting about this. I'm not like too confident in this, but I feel like there might be something where Biden steps down. It might have something to do with his son. I do think that there might be some sort of exposure of a politician's like information or something private getting leaked. I'm not sure if this plays into Kamala's chart, but I would assume, depending on how the dominoes fall, like this can look like her stepping into a major position of power. It can be very karmic with like unresolved things emotionally, but also because the moon has to do with like women and femininity and motherhood in general, and having that in the 11th house in Aries of like leadership, and then having the North Node go over that would make me think of like maybe changing the trajectory to being a female president. I don't want to harp on this too much, but an opposition between having the North and the South Node on both your luminaries is interesting, because that's still a point of tension. It's like electrocuting that tension that's already within you. Like identity, emotional world, authority and power, nurturing energy. There's some intuition and deceptiveness to it as well. Very interesting. Venus is retrograding in her 3rd house, which again is like speaking, talking, writing, using your voice, communicating, speeches, information, anything that would maybe put like a microphone, both literally and metaphorically, to her mouth. Mars has to do with like change, action, vitality, you know, going after what you want. It's also combative energy, so to have Venus retrograding over that on August 10th too, that's an important date to look out for. Mercury will also be on her Pluto, which has a lot to do with, again, like powerful announcements, important pieces of information. It's also opposite her Chiron in the 10th house, which is the public eye and like traumas and triggers of that. I think she might be like front and center stage in a way that's like really intimidating, but is giving her a place of power that people don't like. That, or there's some like family trauma, moms dying, anything intense within the home or private life. Kimmy girl, who is sussing me out because I cannot figure her out. I do have a few predictions for her. It's a few videos down. Also didn't watch the latest episode of the Kardashians, so if I'm not up to date, I'm sorry. She is a 28-degree Libra sun. Again, it's like she might be getting bad PR on the chopping block, have to deal with something karmic, or just in the public eye in a way that it might be like she's dealing with karma. Do you think Kim is losing the plot a little bit and maybe doesn't know the next move, or has people like generally starting to get uninterested? And I do think that Kourtney is like unintentionally taking the baton from Kim, and I know not everybody's gonna agree with me with that, but Kourtney has some really good stuff happening in her chart. What Kim is dealing with karmically on the not so great end, Kourtney is dealing with on the really good end. Kim and Kourtney's sons directly oppose each other, of course, that's why they fight the way that they do, but she's having the North Node, the good end, the like main character, alignment, all the good things are coming to you sort of aspect, to her son in her 2nd house, which is also finances, but it's self-worth, it's boundaries. She also has Mars going through her 7th house of relationships as well, conjunct her Saturn, which has a lot to do with like when push comes to shove, wanting to press on the gas and the brakes at the same time within relationships. It's very tough, it's very tense, it's very uncomfortable. It brings a lot of combative, frustrating, argumentative energy, but wanting to change that, wanting to break the cycle, wanting to break tradition. I don't know, I just think that Kourtney is really like entering a winning streak right now at the expense of being like bye to her family. It's cut off again, but this is Megan Fox. Also, I have to wax my armpit. Normally, I would be so self-conscious and literally change it into a different shirt. But surprise, I'm a female human. Megan's actually having her 4th house nodal return, which has a lot to do with home, family, private life, as well as Mercury going over her natal moon and Venus retrograding over it. And the moon has to do with home and family, emotions, motherhood, who she is at the core. Might be a transformation, a pregnancy, something really big with children or her romantic situation. This is so interesting. I actually need to look into her more now.